About a month ago, I identified some fry here in the fish tank barn that were a bit of a mystery. These fry have now grown up to the point where I can identify them. Over the past few months, there are quite a few other fish that have spawned as well, so there's quite a few new fry here in the fish tank barn. So let's get into the fish barn and take a look at some of the mystery fry, as well as a lot of the other new fry that have come over the spring and summer here in the fish tank barn. So let's take a look at some of the new fry before we talk about the mystery fish. Fry from these Trout Goodeids came as a bit of a surprise. I had recently filmed this tank for my Trout Goodeid species profile, and at the time didn't see any fry. While observing this tank a few days later, I found these fry swimming around the tank. These are some fry I'm pretty excited to have here in the fish tank barn, since this is a Goodeid species that I've not bred before. So it's definitely good to add another Goodeid species to the list of fish that I've bred. There are only a handful of fry in this 29-gallon tank, since Goodeids have a 60-day gestation period and give birth to larger fry than your typical live bearers. While this species of Goodeid is not particularly endangered, many of the other Goodeid species are endangered due to habitat destruction, which has caused declines in their population. Hobbyists have been a great catalyst for keeping many of the Goodeid species around for us to enjoy, and there are even examples of hobbyist-bred Goodeid species being reintroduced back into their natural environment. Next up are these blue Hawaiian guppies. These fish had previously appeared in one of my new fish videos, but unfortunately I had lost the two males from the pair that I had purchased and only had the females left. Thankfully, these females have dropped plenty of fry since then and have filled up this 20-gallon tank full of fry. So I don't have a male that's fully mature yet, but I am getting pretty excited to see some males come back into this tank so we can keep this colony going and get some more of these fish out to some of my fellow fish keepers. So there's definitely a lesson here when it comes to live bearers and losing the males. So as long as you have a female that's been hit, you can keep the colony going, so don't give up hope. So I'm definitely excited to see all of these fry and really excited to see this colony grow out. This next group of fish and fry is definitely a fish I'm really excited about. These are the Xiphophorous Couchianus, or Monterey platy. I had picked up these fish earlier this year off of Aquabid with the hope of spawning them and getting some of them out to my fellow local fish keepers. This is one of the two species in the fish barn that is extinct in the wild, so I'm really happy to be able to help keep this fish in the hobby and proliferate it to some of my other fish keeping friends. I really do enjoy wild type fish, and I think these fish are really quite neat looking, and definitely one that you should try out sometime if you can get a hold of them. We also have these Cuban Limia, which we've seen here in the past in the fish tank barn as well. These fish were purchased from the Kili Carnival in South Bend, Indiana earlier this year. They obviously acclimated to the fish barn quite nicely, because these fish dropped fry about 3 weeks after I'd gotten them home, and this colony has continued to blossom ever since. So I'm really pleased to have this colony going here in this 20-gallon tank. This colony is definitely big enough now that I can get some of these fish out to my fish keeping friends. The Girardinus Metallicus is a great nano live bearer that we recently did a species profile on. I had reacquired this new group a few months back, and much like the Cuban Limia that we talked about earlier, these fish dropped fry fairly quickly soon after coming into the fish barn. This colony seems to be developing much in the same way like the Cuban Limias did, with multiple fry drops happening about monthly. In a few months, I foresee this colony kind of taking that same path as the Limia colony did, and soon being able to get some fish out to my fellow fish keepers. If you're interested in learning about these fish, check out the link to the species profile above. So my Cyprichromis are one of my favorite fish here in the fish tank barn. I picked this group up back in August from Primetime Aquatics at the Greenwater Swap in Joliet, Illinois. I had noticed a few weeks ago that a couple of the females were holding fry and managed to strip the females, which yielded about 6 fry. I moved these fish into this 20-gallon tank where I'm looking to grow them out with feeding them crushed up flake food and the Aquarium Co-op fry food. So I am pretty excited about this fish because this is a species that I've not bred yet, and I'm looking to get some BAP points for this species, as well as get a good colony going of these very beautiful and very entertaining fish. Speaking of African cichlids, I also found some holding females from these Yssichromis JCP2 blue-tip Victorians. As their name implies, these fish are from Lake Victoria and are some pretty stunning fish with their black coloration and red fins. I was able to strip the females from these fish as well and ended up with this healthy number of fry. These fry have been growing out in a 5-gallon aquarium, and they've almost doubled in size since the time I put them in here about a month or so ago. This is another species that I've not bred previously, so I'm definitely excited to submit this for some BAP points at my local club. So let's cut to the chase and talk about some mystery fry. If you go back to the last video, I moved them into this 20-gallon tank where I've been feeding them a wide variety of crushed up extreme flakes and the aquarium co-op fry food. And these fish have been growing up quite nicely and have kind of reached a size now where I think we can identify them. So if you guessed rainbow fish, you were correct. You can clearly tell by the body shape of these fish that these are rainbow fry and not any of the other species we mentioned in the prior video, like the Cyprichromis Leptosoma, yellowhead and conde, or the Tropheus. I will have to get some spawning mops into the 140-gallon tank with the Goiter River rainbow fish and see if I can collect some eggs from the Goiter Rivers and see if I can get enough fry to get some BAP points. We do a lot of live bears and mouth brooders here in the fish tank barn, so it is definitely exciting to get some egg layers going as well. These egg-laying fish are a lot more challenging than my typical live bears or mouth brooding African cichlids, but it's definitely a challenge I'm looking forward to. So with that being said, definitely hope you guys enjoyed looking at some of the new fry we have here in the barn and learning a little bit about what the mystery fish were. So with that being said, stay fishy, stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next video.